What's going on, guys? It's Intelligent Cycle back here, so I'm going to be doing another post-game recap. So, with the Thunder and the Pacers game 3, so the Pacers had won by the score of 116 to 107. Led, by the way, for the Pacers is Benedict Mathurin off the bench with 27 points. He scored 27 of the Pacers' 48 points off the bench, and their bench completely outscored the Thunder and made the game their style of pace and their style of basketball, and they got down the court. Also from T.J. McConnell, he had 5 steals and 5 assists to go along with him being in double figures with 10 points. But the star of the show for the Pacers was Tyrese Halliburton. He had 22, 9 rebounds, and 11 assists. And Pascal Siakam, he had 21 points. He was 8 of 14 from the field. He was able to get it, find his rhythm later on in the fourth when he got the ball, and they fed to him inside the paint. And the Pacers had so much momentum going into the fourth quarter because of their execution was so much better than what it was in game two. And especially with the home crowd here, you know that their bench was going to step up and was going to do their thing. And they made a show coming. Everybody had a show coming and had a really good showing out. Miles Turner in the fourth quarter had some huge blocks on Chet Holmgren, which forced the Thunder, to play out of their style. And also the Pacers had forced 19 turnovers from the Thunder, and a few times the Thunder had a lot of uncharacteristic turnovers. And that was gonna go into my main point. The Pacers, did not panic at all in this game. Even when they was down by 9, and the Thunder thought that they had the momentum, you can tell that they still was able to salvage, and they was still able to keep their hopes alive, knowing that even if they're down and even if they're up in the game, they're not rattled, they're not worried, they're not panicking, they're not anxious, they're not even letting the finals the thing of getting into the finals, letting the moment of letting jitters get into them and anything like that. They completely know how to execute down the stretch and put the game on ice, and knowing what it takes and knowing what the stakes is of if they're winning a championship for the first time. They knowing that the stakes is there and the stakes is so high. This is the time for a lot of the guys to step up and do their thing, and that's what they did. Now, Miles Turner did struggle in this game. He did struggle in this game. He was like 2 for 10 from the field. He only had 7 points. But the thing is with the Pacers is, even if one or two guys like Naismith or Nembhard was struggling, they still find ways to be impactful, especially Naismith and Nembhard, whether it be defensively, whether it be defensively guarding Shea or Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams had 25 points, but it was a quiet 25 points because they made his night very uncomfortable. Also, Kylie Raymond, hey, how's it going? And McKinley 1 2 3 4 A B, how's it going? Yeah, but getting back to what I was saying, even if the other starters for the Pacers in the first half at the time only had like 25 points and the Thunder had like 42 from their starters, the Pacers found ways defensively in the second half. They found ways in the second half to get things get things in their favor defensively, whether it be stops, key stops, whether it be getting out to shooters in time, forcing them to take tough contested shots, getting in the air spaces. Because everybody talks so much about the Thunder's on ball and on pace defense, and they were able to make continuous stops and force you to play outside of your game, which that pretty much what it was in the second half, and especially in the third quarter. Very back and forth, very on point, on pace, and the officiating wasn't a factor at all because they were calling down the line. They're not calling these ticky tack fouls. They're not letting you guys get into the player spaces and then let you draw contact. So they would had the officials to call it. These officials were basically calling it down the middle, straight down the line, and keeping it very close and tight. And as well as looking at the standpoint and looking at the fact, the Naismith and Nembhard defensively, like I said just a few minutes ago, They were able to put the pressure on Jalen Williams and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, making their life on the court very uncomfortable, very rattled. And you saw what happened. Oklahoma City actually started to panic because they hadn't been in a situation as far as in the finals on the biggest stage to final difficulty in a way to come back after they're down by single digits, or if they're down by double digits or more. They hadn't been in that kind of an environment for it. Now, as far as in the playoffs goes, yeah, they've been down against the Denver Nuggets. When they lost game one, and then they lost game three after being down by double figures and more. Uh, they came back against that Denver Nuggets team, even though they were older. They were a lot more they were a lot more older, and a lot of the legs, wasn't underneath them, especially for Brown and Aaron Gordon at times when he, because of the injuries. So they was able to do their thing, for the Thunder to stay alive in the series. But this is a different atmosphere. This is a different environment when you're playing the Pacers in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and the fans and the crowd is like all the way behind them. Excuse me. And the game and the atmosphere is all the way behind them. So they know exactly what is at stake. They know exactly what it takes to get themselves going, and they know exactly how the game is going to unfold. So that'd be the main thing for the Pacers to look at. That'd be the main thing for the Pacers that they need to look at the end of the day. And that'd be the main thing that Thunder's is gonna be looking at it. If you're watching the film, you had 18 uncharacteristic turnovers. 19 uncharacteristic turnovers, which led to the Pacers 21 points in transition. And also the Pacers combined 27 points off of those turnovers, whether it be leading them in the transition threes, whether leading to open dunks. And also the Pacers was out rebounding the Thunder and getting 12 second chance points to the Thunder's 6. So that was another thing that kept them still in the game. The momentum as you was watching it, you would think at times would favor OKC, but OKC did not know how to really push the momentum back. Did not know how to push the momentum, and did not know how to really just contain and push the drive and drop it home. Now, when they went up by 5 towards the end of the third quarter and they lost that lead on a 14-point swing, just kind of goes to show you that you're never out of a game. And when you don't seize the momentum and don't hold the momentum of the game, and also Chet Holmgren had 15 points in the first half, and he went over 6, including when he got blocked a couple of times by Miles Turner. The second half for him, the Pacers just made complete. I don't know what the Pacers had did. They just made completely adjustments and just stayed in front of him. And they also, because the Thunder had so many lineups when they played the small ball, and had either one of them. When they made the change and put their lineup and put their small ball lineup together, it just kind of made it to the point where the Thunder just couldn't match the pace in the second half for the Pacers, and they kind of just started to play their style of basketball, which is running up and down the floor and playing the full court, running up and down the floor, and getting to their sweet spots. Like Nembhard was able to hit a couple of key jumpers. Naismith hit a big 3 to put him up by 8, and then just Tyrese Halliburton made 4 threes that kind of just put the game on ice. So that would be the main thing that pushed the Pacers to winning this game and going up 2-1. Now this is 2 games away for them to kind of win this. For them to at least take advantage of the moment and try to 2 games away of winning the championship and making history and setting NBA history in the playoffs. If they win Game 4 at home and take control of the series, then we pretty much know it's over with. But if the Thunder come back and win Game 4, then it's gonna be a series, and we're gonna be in it for a long haul. Oh, Gerardo Zamorano. What's going on? You said let's put our heads together and run ups the best on an underdog. You could probably do that. You said SGA won me 4K last night. Oh, did he? What did you bet on? What did you bet on SGA? Bet on him scoring 20. You bet on him scoring 24. Or you bet on the or you bet on him having more assists. Let me know about that. But yeah, getting back to what I was saying about this game. So game four. So if this happens where the Pacers end up winning and control the series, then yeah, we know it's gonna be over. But for the Thunder, they got to know exactly what they're in for, and knowing that if you're down, you can't be rattled, you can't be panicking. Yeah, you can't be panicking in these kind of moments. You gotta withstand and withhold your onus and withhold that pressure, knowing that there's times and knowing that your own championship and your own team at stake of losing it. And now in the off season, if it does happen, we're gonna be going back and going back into the off season knowing she done lost to a team that wasn't even supposed to be here at this point in this environment, knowing that the stakes is rattling and the stakes is high. Now a lot of people still complaining about a lot of people not watching the finals, and it's getting the game is boring and slow, or it's not really drawing a lot of attention. I think that's BS. I think the game is absolutely fine. I think the finals is absolutely perfect. I really like the way both teams are kind of really playing. You got young, inexperienced teams in this very moment. It's kind of going to show who's going to step up and who's going to draw to the bright light. So I don't really believe in all the naysayers saying that they're not watching the game is not boring. I think people was expecting at the time, like I said before, in a few previous videos, that people were expecting they were expecting the Lakers, Thunder, Western Conference Finals. They were expecting the Celtics, Cavaliers, Eastern Conference Finals, because those teams had the best records and those teams were fighting it down the stretch. But just things like that just didn't happen, and it kind of just goes to show you that they're the Pacers have subverted a whole lot of expectations. And next year, if they keep and next off season, if we keep this same lineup, we're gonna be in it for a while, for years to come. We can still run this thing back. Only thing the Pacers would need to do is, I think they would need a lot of adjustments. I would say for the Pacers next year, they really need to get another big man, or have Isaiah Jackson come back and take over and get Thomas Bryant out of there, because his minutes was absolutely useless. Every time he's on the floor, he draws a whole lot of fouls, draws a whole lot of unnecessary contact, and it slows the game down for the Pacers and gets them out of rhythm. And a similar thing for another guy off the bench, for the Pacers, that they really need that. They really need another 3 and D guy. Uh, cannot remember his name, but anyways, they need to get guys like that don't their minutes is pretty much useless and no longer it's not needed. Ben Shepherd, although he had some good defense on Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, he was not needed. I mean, because he was just basically bricking. I mean, he pretty much you can get somebody for him in return. You don't really need him. I personally don't think you really need him at all. So that's just my opinion. That's just how I see it. He said lower on 1.5 3-pointers made. X15 in Chet. I chose higher on the 12 points. His pick was and some other picks in total. Put in $40 and came out with 4K. Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. And thank you. Appreciate that. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. That's just my thoughts about game 3. I think for game 4, like I said, it's gonna be looking a whole lot different for us. So we just gotta know exactly what we're in for. We gotta know exactly that their backs against the wall once again, and we cannot take them for granted whatsoever. Lou Dort had a nice game, hitting four for four from the 3 point line. And that's the main thing. We got to get out to shooters that don't really normally shoot those kind of threes, and don't really normally shoot those open jump shots. Get out to them and close. Stay on your man. If you're the Pacers, do not let them get open and get into a rhythm, because they known to go over the top. So that'd be the main thing I would say is the thing they need to work on. Is it really the thing they need to work on? So and also for OKC, just continue to be in your own pace. I think that I think that at times, because like I said before, panicking and feeling anxious and the nerves and the jitters got to them because they never been in that situation before. That be the main thing that can hold them back. So my opinion is just continue to play your pace and play your style. Because the Pacers are gonna come out always. They're gonna always come out firing. That's just how they is. That's just who they are. So those are just my things that both teams need to work on, and really good adjustments by Rick Carlisle, playing most of his lineup and continuing to roll the dice. And as for Mark Dagnall, I think he needs to really talk to his team about the turnovers. That was the main thing that kept the Pacers still alive. So, and a few that was uncharacteristic, especially in fast breaks when you had open drives and when you reset and slow it down and then try to get into your set. And it was an unnecessary and unforced turnover and errors. That would be the main thing I would look at if you were the Thunder. And also, a thing you need to look at is how to get Shai Gilgeous Alexander, play him a little bit more off the ball and have him facilitate him more. No, that's primarily not his game, but that needs to be his game, because the Pacers are going to be looking to control and contain and maintain on Jalen Williams and put a hat on him. That's what they're going to try to do. So I would try to play Shai off the ball. But that's just my thoughts about game 3. Now, let's go to some WNBA news. So the Phoenix Mercury move on to 7-4 as they won 93-80 over the Dallas Wings. Now, despite Paige Bucher's 35-point performance in 37 minutes with 6 rebounds and 4 assists, that wasn't enough in order for the Dallas Wings to put them over the top, because everybody else, although they were in double figures, like De'Anna Carrington and Louisa Gay Soder and Arike Ungawale, they all was in double figures, but it just wasn't enough against the Mercury, because the Phoenix Mercury had just been playing amazing all year, all these 11 games so far, which led, by the way, by, of course, Sabali. She had 29 and 2, and Catherine Westbell, she was on fire. She had 11. And Alyssa Thomas, she had 11 and 10. And also Khadija Laksa, she had 14 points. So that would be the main thing that the that the Mercury had done last night that did so well. One, because their ability to control the pace of the game in all 4 quarters, and then they was able to create easier timely buckets for the girls. So they was able to hit their shots and get into their sweet spots on the floor and inside the perimeter. That would makes them a very dynamic threat. And if these 4 girls continue to be consistent for Phoenix, they're gonna be a problem in the Western Conference. I would definitely see them challenging the Minnesota Lynx and also the Seattle Storm as they beat the other night. So they would be a thing where it would be a thing where the Mercury would be a team that I would be looking out for. And for the Dallas Wings, yeah, they got a lot of growing pains to go through as they're gonna try to beef up their roster because their defense absolutely sucked. They did not do anything to slow their guards down and to slow Alyssa Thomas and them down in the paint. They're gonna have to do a lot of things if you're Dallas to try to keep themselves to try to just compete and to go out there and just improve and make yourselves look better. So the Seattle Storm won by the score of 94-84 over the Minnesota Lynx. They move on to 6-4, while the Lynx suffered their first loss of the season. Of course, Nafisa Collier, she had 25 points in 38 minutes. Alana Smith had 14, and Kayla McBride had 19. Courtney Williams completely was a no-show. She only had 3 points, 3 rebounds, and 6 assists in 20 minutes, so she was a complete no-show. And for the Seattle Storm, which was led by Erica Wheeler and Nika Okumike, she had 21 and 10. Skylar Diggins had 18. All 5 of the Seattle Storm's starting 5 was in double figures, which that's what led to them getting to 94 points. They outscored the Lynx in the third and fourth quarter, which carried them along. And the thing about what the Seattle Storm did, they was able to collapse the paint on Minnesota and completely get into their sets on time. They was able to put themselves in the best situations possible. Okay. Getting to their spots and putting them in the best and putting them in the best situations possible on their offensive side. Their defense is what led into their offense and getting to the and running their sets and making plays and getting easier shots towards the rim. And also, Skylar Diggins able to get inside the perimeter, hitting her jumpers when it was called upon for her to do so, and able to feed Gabby Williams and Isa McBeggar inside. So that was the thing that put them over the top. So good win by the Storm. Can they continue to get continue to go ride this momentum and get on this winning streak? We'll see when it heads down forth. And for the Minnesota Lynx, I wouldn't be so discouraged at all because your season they've been on fire. So they're gonna be on the top of the Western Conference on the women's side for a minute. So I wouldn't be discouraged at all because you're facing up against a really good team that's gonna put themselves in the driver's seat. All right, so let's talk about the Fever and the Atlanta Dream. The Dream absolutely destroyed the Fever by the score of 77-58. They move on to 6-3, while the Fever fall to 4-5. Caitlin Clark did not play in this game, and you can tell her absence and her presence was missed because although 3 of the Indiana starters were in double figures, everybody else just did not have a good game at all. DeWanna Bonner completely struggled. She only had 5 points in 20 minutes. Lacey Hall didn't score anything in 32 minutes, but only had 5 rebounds. But thing is, Natasha Howard, Kelsey Mitchell was only 2 starters, but Aria McDonald off the bench, he had 14 points in 24 minutes. For the Dream, you had Brianna Jones and Alicia Gray were the main 2 starters for the Dream that were in double figures. Nia Coffey off the bench had 10 points in 20 minutes. And that's what put them over that's what got the Dream over the top was not only the bench presence from her, but Brianna Jones and Alicia Gray doing their thing able to create open looks, good looks from the field. Their defense was getting a lot of stops, forcing a lot of turnovers from the Fever, and they was able to get out and transition and run, which is the thing that didn't that the Fever just, I don't know if they didn't see it coming or wasn't expecting it, but they played them twice, so they should expect exactly. And they played them twice, not only upon a year, but they seen them many and numerous amount of times, so they know exactly what to expect. Pow Pow didn't really do as much, but for the most part, Brianna Jones and Alicia Gray was just on point. Their presence was mainly felt, and you like to see that happening for the Dream. So they're gonna be the remaining team in the Eastern Conference that's gonna be a problem for many moves to come. And the New York Liberty are still undefeated, remain undefeated at 9-0. They absolutely obliterated the Chicago Sky by the score of 85-66. Um, the post game conferences had went about from Ariel Atkins because she had to step up for her teammate because a lot of the media been criticizing Angel Reese's poor play. For some reason they like to criticize her poor play or whatever in their mind, but she also was in double figures with a 17 and 11, and Ariel Atkins was also in double figures, while the rest of the starting while the rest of the starting five was absolutely a no-show. Rebecca Allen didn't do anything. Cardoso did not do anything at all, and Rachel Bannum didn't do anything at all. I think Tyler Marsh is the coach for the Chicago Sky. He is absolutely horrible. So they just did not do what they supposed to do at all. If you're the Sky, they need to really make a whole lot of changes. They really need to make a whole lot of changes and do a lot of things in the off season because they're not going to make the playoffs at all. They're going to have a lot of things to work on in the drawing board. They might need to really step up and update their roster. And Angel Reese more than likely is not going to be there in Chicago playing for the Sky. I think she might. I think she might have. I think if they don't mess around and improve and get that roster better suited around her, Kayla and Camila, her and Ariel Atkins, I don't think they're gonna be there that much longer. I think it's gonna be a lot of things. There's gonna be a lot of changes. I'll just say that for them because they need to make some because the way that they're playing right now and watching them last night, they just look absolutely out of sync, lethargic. They look like they didn't bring a whole lot of energy, and you could just tell. For the Liberty, you had Sabrina Iron Sue. They couldn't stop her. The Sky couldn't stop her and contain her, nor Brianna Stewart, because she had 18 points in 27 minutes, 18, 7, and 5. And Natasha Cloud, although she didn't really have that big of a game, Kennedy Burke came off the bench and had 15 points. She did her thing, and that's the thing about the Liberty. You never know who's gonna come out and get involved for them, whether it be one of the starters, whether it be Natasha Cloud may have a 20-point nights where she has 20-point games and 10 rebounds, or whether it be Brianna, or whether it be Sabrina Ian Sue, or whether it be Rebecca Gardner or Marion Johannes. Like any one of them could just absolutely come through and just make the game more easy, make the game more simpler in context. So the Liberty remain undefeated. They pretty much are the best team in the Eastern Conference. They're gonna be there. They're gonna be in the postseason for for a while, and they're gonna be a problem for many years and many moons to come and many moons to go forward. So I just like the way that they're playing. I like the way that their offense is flowing and gelling, and it makes the game more fun. Makes the game more fun to watch. Um, so that would be my recap for them and for the game. And the last story I'm going to talk about before I go is, hold on, let me get real quick. Let me get to this. Let me see something real quick. So I guess the ratings for the WNBA. You remember to you guys. I talked about the extension of the games from 40 to 44 this year, and I talked about how that's a big complaint. Well, as far as the WNBA ratings goes, because of what happened with Kayla Clark's injury, because she's not out there, it's causing a huge nosedives now. So being injured has caused an exodus of interest in the WNBA games. As what happened is her last performance her last game was May 24th against the New York Liberty at home. On June 10th, on Twitter, had posted 1.92 million viewers for the Fever the Chicago Sky game Saturday. Game Kayla Clark missed due to injury, and it's the third most watched WNBA game in 2025, behind the Fever versus Sky opener and the Fever versus New York Liberty. But to paint somewhat optimistic picture about the league and the Fever maintaining the interest in with Caitlin Clark's sideline, the reality is, at least according to a June 11 article, conveys a bleaker reality from USA Today's Jeff Zilgit. The league's TV ratings have declined with Clark's sideline, Zilgit wrote. He then added, nationally televised WNBA viewership is down 55% since their injury, according to Nielsen. Fever's national TV games are down 53% since Caitlin Clark's injury, and 1,810,000 average viewers before injury, and 847,000 viewers since her injury for Fever national televised games. And as it shows on Twitter, so salute to Christine Brennan. She made this post that more than 50% of the WNBA TV ratings have been down since Caitlin Clark's injury. And even those who are well aware of many eyeballs Clark brings to the sport are all those percentages. And if there's any silver lining, is that Clark's injury doesn't appear overtly serious, and she could be returning to the court as soon as this weekend. So yeah, the thing is though, hopefully Caitlin Clark does come back from this apparent quad injury. So the Fever can actually get back, because watching them last night, as I talked about against the other night against the Dream, Aria McDonald, she's all right, but I don't think she's not the answer. And Kelsey Mitchell, and the offense is not flowing right. And Stephanie White, to me, does not make adjustments, and that's another thing that also is hurting for them. Their old coach would have made a whole lot of adjustments and really would have put this team in the best positions. Their offense is just not flowing right at all, and it's just not there without her in the lineup. At least when Clark's in the lineup, the offense is flowing, and the offense is like at a rapid, steady pace. I don't know how that came on. Yeah, I don't know how the offense is just not there. It's not a good, steady pace, and the Fever they're not really settling in as far as getting to their spots and creating timely buckets. I think with Kayla Clark's in there, she's able to get to her sets and get into her jumpers and get into her early 3-pointers. But the flow and the pace is better when she's in the lineup for the Fever. I just don't think when she's not out there, I don't think the Fever really offensively are running to a standpoint to get themselves going. And I really think that Stephanie White is not really making a whole lot of adjustments. Whether it be having And also Sophie Cunningham, I didn't see her. I don't think she played the other night either. I think when both her and Clark come back, I think it's gonna flow better. I think it's gonna make the offense better from Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, and Natasha Howard. I think that's gonna be a thing that's gonna maintain. It's gonna maintain their steady pace. And it's gonna maintain getting easier buckets and easier attempts and easier shots inside the perimeter. Also, and her assist and her passing ability for Caitlin Clark really does make the game more simpler, make the game more simpler, make the game more faster. So that'd be the main thing I would say is missing for the Fever and why they lost the last couple of games. So they really need to do a lot of soul searching, really do a lot of foreseeable damage control to really look at themselves in the mirror and say, we really need to start out and be aggressive, overly aggressive, and put ourselves in the best chance to win. So that'd be the main thing I would look at. But anyways, that's all I got to say, guys, in this about the finals and of course about the WNBA season and these latest news and my thoughts about. Oh, and also just for the ratings taking a nosedive, I don't think that's really just because the cause of her injury. But yeah, that's one major factor, but that's not the whole reason. I just think because you got a lot of casual viewers that are losing interest, that are not really paying attention. It's a thing that's gonna be a problem for the WNBA as far as the board of directors and the commissioner goes. They're gonna have to really look at a lot of things and pay attention to what televised games that should be covered and what that should be talked about. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Tell me what you guys think about these news about the WNBA Raiders taking a nosedive and your thoughts about the NBA Finals Game 3. So yeah, that's all I got to say. And thank you for the people who commented. Really appreciate that. I'm out of here. Peace and love. Like, share, and subscribe.